It was supposed to be a normal Thursday. Everyone was looking forward to the weekend. And then the smoke and fire started. Just an hour before dawn, Russian flares lit up the sky over Ukraine. They first targeted military sites, places that are now household names: Odessa, Mariposa, Kharkov, Dnipro. The first reaction of anyone is shock. One country is sending troops into another country in the heart of Europe. The decision sparked the largest and most violent confrontation on the continent since World War II ended in 1945. But for President Putin, the decision seemed uncharacteristic. He felt he was cornered to the point where he had no choice but to resort to force. I have made the decision to launch a military operation. Anyone who tries to interfere or even pose a threat to our country and our people should know that Russia will react immediately. A special military operation in Ukraine has begun, as Putin calls it, while the West calls it an invasion. At first, many people ridiculed that name, but after witnessing the real war in Gaza, perhaps they had to agree with Mr. Putin. The Kremlin gave 3 goals for the campaign: defascism, demilitarization, and neutralization of Ukraine. Putin's stance was clear from the start. Russia would not accept a NATO member from its next-door neighbor. Ukraine had to stay out of Western military alliances. In the first days of the operation, Russia advanced like a storm, even coming very close to the capital, Kiev. Everyone wondered how the Ukrainian leadership would react to such a formidable opponent. They finally appeared in this selfie video. The first in President Zelensky's vlog series. He took off his presidential suit, and since then, we have only seen Zelensky in it. Even when he attends global events in a sea of suits or meets with the world's most powerful leaders, the suit screams that he wants to fight and is not in the mood to dress for peace. In the West, there is rarely such a strong consensus on an issue. President Joe Biden takes this opportunity to show Europe that he is not like his predecessor. He is not Donald Trump. But Joe Biden drags the US and NATO into a war to defend Ukraine. Putin will never win in Ukraine.
Will never be a victory for Putin.
Putin may take over cities, but he will never take over the country. So we will continue to support the brave Ukrainian people fighting for their country. The West is saying that this result is a sure loss for Russia. Sanctions would strangle Russia's economy. NATO support would push Russia back. But their hopes have not materialized. Instead, Ukraine is on the brink of defeat. But how did Putin do it when Russia was not only fighting Ukraine, but essentially fighting the rich and powerful West? Did he have every move planned for the past 3 years? The West's strategy rests on 3 very ambitious assumptions. 1. Russia's economy would collapse. 2. NATO military support could push Russia back. And 3. Putin would be isolated internationally. But what about the reality? Russia's economy beats the G7. Russia's GDP is expected to grow by 4% between 2024 and 2025. The G7 countries will grow by just 1.7%. In terms of currency, the rupee has also been relatively stable. It is a shame for Mr. Biden that he promised to turn the rupee into a pile of paper and has not delivered. When the war began, $1 was worth 85 rupees. At the time of writing this script, $1 is worth 86.82 rupees. So on the face of it, Russia's money is definitely not a pile of paper. Militarily, Russia has achieved enough to gain an advantage. Initial assessments suggested they were just trying to strike. But 3 years later, it turned out to be a war of attrition. Both sides are still fighting for every little advantage. However, Russia already controls nearly 20% of Ukraine. They are advancing more slowly, but surely. Let us come to the third assumption. The West hopes that Mr. Putin will be internationally isolated. But look at these images from 2022. If this is isolation, then every head of state would like to be a little isolated. Putin has expanded his relationships everywhere but the West. Granted, he may have fewer friends, but he will never be isolated. To defeat all 3 of the West's assumptions, Putin did 3 things right. First, he made sure that Ukraine and the West could not win militarily. That is, they cannot win on the battlefield. Occasionally, when he feels inspired, he will throw out threats to grow mushrooms. He will organize drills with fire sticks, put the reactors on alert. This would act as a deterrent to the Western powers, force them to cut back on long-range supplies to Ukraine. Make them tell Zelensky to defend, not attack. By the end of 2024, they finally changed their stance, allowing Ukraine to push deep into Russian territory with Western-made toys. But by then, it was too late. Russia has the upper hand. So Mr. Putin's mushroom threats have a very clear goal: to keep Western support to a minimum. This ensured that the war would have only two outcomes. One was a Russian military victory, the other was a negotiated settlement. There is no way the Ukrainian army will win. You can understand that it is not necessary to win every time, but just make sure that the opponent can only draw or lose. The second thing Putin did right was to manage the economy effectively. Russia is currently under some 24,000 sanctions. 24,000 sanctions, guys? But the economy is still stable. That's because when the West was choking, Mr. Putin turned east. He increased oil sales to India and China. He marketed hot commodities to the global South Sea. This kept his coffers full. He also invested in the BRIC emerging economies. It originally had only 5 members: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But after the war broke out, it doubled in size. The new members that emerged were Egypt, Iran, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Ethiopia. Together, they sought to reorder the global order. It is possible to create alternatives to the Western-led system. The third thing Putin did right was that he did not see this as a zero-sum game, but kept the door open for negotiations. He was always very clear that he had certain demands and concerns. He was ready to negotiate, and if his demands were met, this war would end. The West closed Hitler off, refusing to talk to him. But Mr. Putin has never done that. He has always been willing to negotiate, almost betting that one side will eventually wake up to reality and sit down and talk things out. And that is what is happening. Donald Trump is back.
President Putin and
Putin is playing the long game. Simply put, he is in no rush to occupy Kiev, and in fact we have to wonder whether he ever wanted to occupy Ukraine at all, or if he just wanted to tear it apart. So instead of rushing, he waited to see energy prices spiral out of control, wheat and fertilizer supplies become scarce, inflation skyrocket, political opposition rise in the West, and Trump launch his re-election campaign. He watched as incumbent Western leaders were ousted by popular vote, as the far-right won landslide victories at home, and then Trump was re-elected. Now, looking back over the past 3 years, we realize what a masterful game Putin has played. It is a lesson in strategic patience. At its core is a simple principle of whose will is stronger. Put on the scale. Does Mr. Putin want more of a neutral Ukraine, or does the West want more of a NATO Ukraine? Mr. Putin has bet from the start that the answer is in Russia's favor, and so he has won 50% of the time. Of course, the peace agreement has not been signed yet, but as things stand, after 3 years, it seems that Putin has the last laugh because his risky gamble has won big. But he is not done yet. He has a number of options that could push Trump to make more concessions, perhaps dragging out the negotiations to gain more ground on the battlefield, or even convincing the US to cut off aid to Ukraine. I mean, Trump has shown his cards. He wants to end this war as soon as possible. But if a deal cannot be reached, what will Trump do? Will he cut off aid? And if so, will Putin win on the battlefield? And let's not forget the higher stakes. Europe has so far relied on the American security umbrella. But Trump is taking that umbrella away. He said Europe should take care of its own defense, and Mr. Trump's stance is echoed by many Americans today. It's no surprise that Americans want to distance themselves from Europe. This is good for Mr. Putin. An isolationist America means a weaker NATO. That means a weaker transatlantic relationship. Russia would then be freer to expand its influence. Of course, there was some bad news for Russia. The focus on Ukraine led to the overthrow of Russia's ally Bashar al-Assad in Syria. And the biggest reason is the lack of Russian air support. In addition, NATO has added 2 new members right on Russia's doorstep: Sweden and Finland, which are both diaspora countries. This reminds us that geopolitics is very complicated. Victory is never absolute, and defeat is never complete. It is simply a matter of maximizing the benefits and minimizing the costs. What do you think about the war in Ukraine over the past 3 years that has cost so many lives? Discuss with Global Insights in the comment section. Now, goodbye and see you again.